Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is episode 3 of finding a job. I just burped. Excuse me. But this is episode 3 of not me finding a job, but just helping other people find a job. My experience, I have a job. I always had a job since I was in since I was a senior in high school actually. And that's all the credentials I have. I am not a career recruiter. I do not work in HR. I do none of that. I'm just a consultant in a tech company who went to school for mechanical engineering and had applied for jobs and done the whole application process many times in my lifestyle and have helped my friends look for jobs as well. So I just wanted to come here for episode 3 and kind of give you more about looking for jobs past the application process and also past doing the whole follow-up situation. So if you watch my last video, I talked a lot about how to look for jobs, how to look for your resume for recruiters, what to do once you apply. And now we're just going to assume you have your first round of interviews, which are usually background, behavioral, or HR, usually by phone, Microsoft Teams, or some sort of virtual device. They're not usually in person. If you do it for an in-person one, then you could probably assume it's your only round interview. But hey, if you are new here, my name is Miracle. This is Population Me, and this is episode 3 in my new job series. Hello. I do have my notebook today, so I will be reading from them when I talk about the do's and don'ts of what to do once you have your first interview in the job market. So let's get into it. Do number 1, research the companies and role. I am not really going to get super duper into this one. It feels kind of indicative to know that this is kind of what everyone tells you. When you are looking for a job and you actually get the role or you look for an interview, you should always research the job. It does not matter if you're applying for Starbucks office or some really big Google company or whatever, right? You always want to make sure you know exactly what you're applying for and what the role entails, because when it comes to behavioral interviews, they might not truly ask you so much about their culture of the company and what you like about it, but it doesn't hurt to know like what you're applying for and also what you're trying to go for when you get into a role. Because you don't want to get into a job whose work culture sucks or they have no work-life balance. I mean, I get it. A job is a job in this economy, but if you're going for your first time interview, they may want to know more about why you want to apply for this company. You might not want to say the same $1 million question of, oh, because I really like what you guys do. And it's like, okay, what do we do? And you don't want to sit there and be like, your culture is great. It's like, no, come on now, let's be real. Just do a little bit of 30-minute research. It shouldn't be too difficult. It does pile up the more interviews you have, but that's the best part sometimes of actually looking for jobs, because you actually get the interviews and you get to see the companies for who they truly are. And make sure you go on Glassdoor, because they will let you know a lot about what they truly are, if you get what I mean. So do number 2, you want to practice common interview questions. This is really also very basic. Because I said it's the first round usually is behavioral, they do ask a lot of those questions of, tell me about yourself. Elevator pitch are a number 1 thing they love to ask you. Tell me why you want to work here, or what is your experience? Tell me a time you solved like some mysterious problem with your manager and how did you resolve that? Yeah, very basic questions. They really do ask a bajillion times, but they are always going to be asked at these type of interviews, and it always is good to brush up on what you're going to say, because you never want to walk in there and say, I didn't have any issues. Make something up, because no one ever heard of someone being like totally fine at a job, even though there's plenty of people who will go through life and have not one work problem. But if you want to go for an interview, they always care about how you're going to do conflict resolution. And you can't exactly get through that if you come off as someone who never really went through an issue and they come off like, oh, well, then you're going to be really bad at it. It's always good to just string a little white lie here and there if you really don't have anything that you need. Do number 3, prepare for questions you want to ask the interviewer themselves. I actually really do like this question and really do like this preparation process when I was looking for jobs, because sometimes the interviewer tends to they yap a lot. Like they yap for 30 to an hour. And all I do is actually really basic questions. And sometimes you want to be like, okay, well, let's turn the tables. How long have you worked here and what do you do for this company and how can I help myself get to your position, not as HR, but work in the company. And honestly, that's my favorite question to ask because you always want to know how you are in terms of your interview process. Yes, it's maybe the first round, but you always want to know, like, did I say anything wrong? Do you have any feedback for me? And how is the company in your eyes? Because you never want to look for a job that might be a little bit not for you in many ways, but also if this is your first round and you're looking for that second round, you do want to know, are you doing okay? Can you do better? Do you think you'll get that second round within a week or two? Because you have other things to do than applying for jobs. And they're all very good questions. You can always find more online on Glassdoor, on LinkedIn if you need to. They're all very good places to find them, actually. And do number 4, dress appropriately. I am sure we have found those TikToks where people just dress however they like to for an interview. And I get it, right? We're at home, it's remote interviewing. You're probably on the phone, you don't need to dress up, it's fine. But if you're going to be online, like I am to this camera, or you're going to be Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever, and they make you put your camera on, maybe don't come in wearing like a t-shirt like this. Maybe come in with like a top suit or like business casual on top, party on the bottom situation. Because you never want to come off as being super duper casual. And you want to treat this as if you already have a job, because we might think HR and recruiters don't really care about these type of things, but they're taking notes of everything. And they're centering it off to like the managers who really do care, because they always wear the suits, right? They do wear the suits. They are the suits of the job. You don't want to come off as that person who doesn't care, because you can kiss the second round or even that job goodbye. So then do number 5. Make sure you follow up after this interview. It's dead in the ground, Bit talks about it. Make sure you always do a follow up with an interviewer, because they are always interviewing either tens of people per day until they have to find like 7 people out of the hundreds of people they applied for or they interviewed for like one position, right? You want to stand out. And obviously, telling this to an audience, you're all going to just do it and they have to like go through all that, and then no one stands out. I get that. But it doesn't hurt to send an email following up, tell them a little nice template. Thank you for letting me do this interview. Please let me know if you have any questions. I would like to know when the second round is, or if you have any that I can like feedback, basically, right? There's templates online that you can do if you really want to find something that you don't want to write yourself, and it's super easy and super convenient to copy and paste for many interviewers. But they're always good to have. It is the same as following up with a hiring manager on like LinkedIn and letting them know that you applied for a job and you want to know if you can have your application looked at by a human versus an AI. May not always work, may not always get you that second round, but it never prevented someone from going to the next round. If anything, it can only help you. I hopefully have statistics somewhere, but it doesn't hurt to do a follow up. That's all the main do's. There's many more do's, but we'll be here forever if I went through all of them, and most of them are just either really known or not that you don't need to do it. Like it just seems like doing the most, right? Let's go into some of the don'ts that you should not do. Don't number 1, do not wing it. Do not wing it, especially if you're not used to winging it. I can't say that for myself. I've winged plenty of interviews in my life, and I always got rejections until I got the one company that didn't care that I winged it, because I'm so used to speaking out loud to people in my day to day life that winging it for me, especially to like questions across the board that are very similar and very much the same, I can wing it to a certain extent. Now, if it's some really hard math question or an engineering question, I can't wing that, right? There is a limit to even what I can wing. But if you're not used to talking in front of people, or you're not used to answering questions with an interviewer, especially with your camera on, do not wing it, because you will get nervous, anxious, all the many things you can get, and you could ruin it for yourself. And not many people are willing to give you a second chance if you told me you were just really nervous. Practice in the mirror, practice with a friend. I'm sure there is an app out there to help you with interview questions. Write down bullet points before every interview if you must, and then tell them you're just taking notes when you're really just memorizing what you have to say. Do whatever you need to do that doesn't show that you're winging an interview, because realistically, you want a job, preferably before the summer, right? We need to make some money for summertime, but it's not a good idea to just let it just fly under the radar unless you don't care. Then why did you apply? But anyway, don't wing it. Okay, number 2. Do not speak negatively about past employers. Now I get this, right? We all have those horror stories of those jobs that don't care, the managers that couldn't be willing to train us, and then we just fly on the radar, and then we get fired, or get laid off, or we quit, and we just want to scream into the mountaintops of who they were, what they did, and let the people know don't ever go there. That's what Glassdoor is for, right? People go on Glassdoor. I love Glassdoor. It's great. It's love. I love it. But if you're doing an interview and they ask for something towards conflict resolution, don't really throw your last employer under the bus. It might sound like they want to know the nitty gritty, what happened in your old company, and they want to know the drama, but they're getting paid to literally interview you and then send that information to a manager. You don't want them writing down that you literally talk bad about like some manager you had, and then could potentially talk bad about them if you don't get a good role within their company, or you had a bad experience, or it doesn't come out very professional. Now, why that is, I can't tell you. I'm not doing research on that. I don't care enough. But this don't speak bad. There is a time and there's a place, and they are not the time or the place. Speak back somewhere else. Go online, go on LinkedIn, put company X did this and that. You can check on my little, LinkedIn, see what is going on. But don't speak bad about it to your employers or to your interviewers. They don't really need to know that. It's a lot of TMI for them. They might have the same experience and then be like, oh yeah, you ate, but that's not what they're there for. So yeah. Number 3, don't look too casual. Now this goes back to making sure you dress professionally. You don't want to seem too laid back unless it's that kind of job. Maybe you're going to like a fishing company, whatever. I don't know. But you don't want to seem too casual, too laid back. You don't want to seem super duper friendly. You can if you're doing it professionally. But at the end of the day, you're not speaking with slang. You're not speaking with a tone that you speak only with your friends. You're speaking to someone who's going to pay you, hopefully, right? You want them to pay you. So you don't want them to come off and be like, oh, this person didn't really seem to care as much, because that's what you're going to come off as. Too nonchalant, not caring as much, maybe doesn't seem to really want this job. They don't seem enthusiastic, and that's what you want to come off as. So I can't give you any examples in this video. Maybe a new video, I might do some of them, but we'll see if I really want to. But don't seem too casual. Seem business casual. Come off as being like you're networking. Because when you network with people, you do elevator pitch, you let them know what you're doing, what you're looking for, how you're a great fit for the company, and that's what you should be doing for these people. Don't stick a robot. Don't be business professional. Let them know like you're 10 feet away from them while letting them have the information they need for a job. Just be yourself. Literally just be yourself with a little splash of professionalism. That's all you need. Number 4, do not ask about the salaries or the benefits during your interview. At least not the first one, right? For the first one, it is just a getting to know you situation. Whether a phone call, HR call, if you're lucky to have it on the phone, then you can just lay in your bed, as I have, but we didn't hear that. But you don't want to talk about the salary if they didn't post it online, or the benefits if they had never talked to you about it first, because that may come off as you not caring about the company, you care about the money. Everyone cares about the money. Okay, we get that. But you don't want them to think, oh, you don't care about the company culture. You're just doing this for a paycheck, which means we can use our employees to the best of ability, which can come off really bad for the company, period, if they don't have their salaries posted online. But you don't want to be that person who's like, so how much does this company pay? Now, some companies play you and they give you the lowest number they can possibly get after you're like salary for like interview 4, right? And that sucks. We don't want to be that person who's actually interview 1. How can you get a raise in that salary when you don't even have the job yet, right? And same, right? Go to Glassdoor, look it up, go on salary.fyi. These places literally will let you know what these companies will pay out, generally, right? For your state, for the position, for what role you're going to do, everything, right? It might not be correct, but you get to know like the base of what they give you. And if it changes, you know what to, and if it changes, you know what to negotiate for, which we would talk about. I like the idea of negotiating salaries, so that's an idea I can do for a new video. But yeah, don't talk about salaries and benefits on your first. Do it on your second or your third, because if you have that many, obviously. But if you don't, do it on the last one. It really isn't the first thing you want to talk about. Number 5, don't forget to breathe. And this goes back to being really don't wing it, right? You don't want to come off as super anxious, right? A lot of us are anxious in life, and we're anxious when we talk into like other people in a professional meeting, whatever, right? But you want to remember that these conversations are with another human. Luckily, for now, right? One day you'll be conversating with an AI, and that'll really be like, what are they doing? But you want to breathe, right? We breathe all the time. That is one of our main abilities we do without thinking. You do not want to come off as someone who is rushing through their words, trying to get like a bajillion words out a minute, and then you expect the interviewer to be like, "Oh, she ate that. I'm gonna write that down." They're not gonna know what you said. They're really not. Let's just be honest. And if you can't be calm under pressure, they see you as someone they don't want. So you definitely don't want to come off as like super anxious or super, gritty about what you want to do when you're literally just answering questions about what do you want to do in this company and why did you apply. So that's why I say, experience yourself with other people, ask them to help you with the interview process, go online, have them answer questions, see how well you can answer the questions without feeling overwhelmed. And there's a lot of that. But yeah, that is literally the 5 for 5 do's and don'ts of what you should do when you get to your first round interview. Obviously, there's a lot more on both ends of the spectrum, but these are the main nitty gritties that I've experienced myself within the last 2 years when looking for jobs and even applying for jobs within my own company, which makes no sense. But as a consultant, you always are looking for your new project. So that is the main thing I have to do. So this is something that hopefully gets the point across. Now, a lot of these you can look up, whatever, but sometimes these things do fall through the crack, especially the breathing part. No one ever thinks about like you still gotta practice your speech. You can't just wing it because you have a resume, you have experience, you have all these accolades to prove that you're so good, but then when you get to the interview, you can't talk about any of it because you're out here like overwhelmed, thinking it through, and you realizing you are empty-minded. You have to breathe. You have to. I'm breathing right now, right? Okay. But yeah, that is really all I have for this episode. I try to do these like once every week, once every 2 weeks, but we will see when I do the next one because honestly, looking for salary and negotiating will literally be the best thing I can do because I tried doing that once, didn't work out. But I've learned new things of new ways of how to negotiate, and I like to talk about it honestly. So that is really it for episode 3. I will catch you guys on the flip side for episode 4 and whatever else videos I have next. I don't know what video I'm doing next. It's really off the cuff at this point, but I am just winging it. At least I can. It's my channel, right? All right. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye bye.